Step inside Seattle's time machine and see why we paid $7 for a 4-minute ride. Welcome to Seattle, Washington. Back in May of 2023, Lindsay and I visited Seattle for the first time, and we loved it. Besides spending time with great people, we enjoyed walking through the different neighborhoods and, of course, seeing some of the touristy sites. Underneath the market is the infamous gum wall. I'm not gonna lie, all that pre-chewed gum made me feel a little queasy. But that didn't stop us from swinging by Target and buying a pack so we could add our own contributions to the wall. Located on the Puget Sound, with water and mountains surrounding you on all sides, the views in Seattle are beautiful. And one of the best ways to take in these views is from the water. The Puget Sound is crisscrossed by dozens of ferry routes, some even traveling internationally to Canada. We decided to go to West Seattle on a King County water taxi. This is probably the shortest distance you could sail out of Seattle, but since we only had limited time to explore Seattle, this fast and frequent water taxi was the best choice for us. What are the seats like?
They're so comfy.
Really?
They are really comfortable.
Inside, there are rows of comfortable seats fitted with different amenities such as power sockets. However, it was a beautiful day, and there was nowhere we'd rather be than outside, admiring the skyline.
See someone fall overboard, keep them in sight and yell, "Man overboard."
A one-way on the Seattle water taxi cost us $5 per person. Just like sailing on the Puget Sound is something you really have to do when you visit Seattle, another must-ride is the Seattle Center Monorail. Seattle is one of the few places in the United States that has a monorail, and I hope this video convinces you that it's more than worth a ride. The Seattle Center Monorail dates back to 1962. It travels the 0.9 miles or 1.4 kilometers between the Westlake Center Mall and the Seattle Center. Westlake Center is closer to downtown Seattle, and to get there, we took a ride on Seattle's Link Light Rail. Make sure to check out a review of that train by clicking the link above. And if you enjoy this video, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome.
Now you can actually transfer to the monorail straight from the link station, so I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to get on the monorail.
You can access the monorail from the light rail by elevator, or you can take the stairs like we did. Either way, once you reach the top, you are right by the monorail platform, which makes it super convenient. A ticket is needed to pass through the fare gates. An adult round-trip ticket costs $7, which, yes, that is one of the steepest prices I've ever paid for such a short distance. But you really should treat the monorail as an attraction, a rideable piece of history, and that justified the cost, at least to me. Westlake Station has just one side platform, but there are 2 tracks. So how do you board a train if it arrives on the outer track? Well, there are these retractable bridges that push out towards the train that you can cross. Here comes our train now. This monorail train was built in the 1960s, and I love the retro-futuristic interior design. The big windows, which extend to the ceiling, make the train feel very spacious. The seats are not laid out in your traditional configuration. Almost anywhere you sit, you get a good view of what's outside.
We made it on the Seattle Center Monorail. This thing is cool.
As we begin our super short journey to Seattle Center, let's talk about the history of this train. On the way back, we'll talk about how it works. Believe it or not, throughout the early 20th century, there were multiple proposals to build a monorail in Seattle. None ever made it until the late 1950s when Seattle was planning to host the Century 21 Exposition.
Welcome to Seattle Center Monorail. Please take a seat or hold on to the handrail. Thank you for your cooperation and enjoy the ride.
Century 21 was a World's Fair that lasted for 6 months in 1962, and the fair permanently altered Seattle's urban landscape. The famous Space Needle, for example, was built for Century 21 in less than 8 months. The monorail was built with similar haste for similar reasons. The city wanted a monorail to connect the fairgrounds with downtown and listen to the proposals of several different manufacturers. Initially, they went with Lockheed, but after the city refused to pay for it, that plan was shot down. That's where German company Alwak stepped in. Fresh from building the monorail at Disneyland, Alwak offered to build the entire thing on their own dime. The investment would be recovered from fares, among other things. Furthermore, once the investment had been recovered, Alwak would transfer ownership of the monorail to the city. So construction began in March of 1961. 68 columns were built and the rails laid on top of them. The trains themselves were manufactured in Germany and shipped over. Exactly a year later, in March of 1962, the monorail opened. Today, the line continues to operate daily. A private company known as Seattle Monorail Services operates the line. The monorail saw one major change in the 1980s when the original Westlake terminal was demolished. The city wanted to build a park on the site, so the monorail was rerouted to a newly built terminal, integrated into the Westlake Mall. Over the years, there were efforts to expand the monorail into a full-fledged transit system serving the region, but as you can see, those plans never materialized. Today, the monorail remains a transit oddity. The top speed of the monorail is around 45 miles per hour or 70 kilometers per hour, though that used to be higher.
Seattle Center Station. This is our one and only stop. Please make sure you have all of your belongings and watch your step as you exit through the doors on the right side of the train.
Though the trains pick up electric power from the rail, interestingly, for about half of the journey, they just coast. After 2 minutes, we've arrived at Seattle Center, home of the 1962 World's Fair.
Well, that might have been the most expensive 2-minute ride I've ever made. But was it worth it?
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
It was fast.
What's that?
Monorail. I think that is a new machine.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a cool shirt.
Here at Seattle Center, you can visit multiple attractions like the Space Needle, Chihuly Garden and Glass, the International Fountain, and the Pacific Science Center. We didn't go up the Space Needle, but we did browse through their gift shop, laughing at the different things that were on sale.
Ooh, they have a Space Needle Moldorama.
Yeah. It's so orange. That one was hard.
Now let's head back to Westlake and we'll talk about how the monorail works. The word monorail means only one rail, the prefix mono coming from the Greek word meaning only one or single. And yeah, rather than the two rails a train normally runs on, a monorail uses only one. There are multiple types of monorails in the world. Some are suspended from a rail, while others rest on top of one. The Seattle Center Monorail is a straddle beam monorail. The trains straddle a thick, concrete rail and they propel themselves forward using multiple rubber tires. Rubber tires on the side help stabilize and guide the train. The Seattle Center Monorail has two aluminum cars, the blue train and the red train, both built by Alwalk. They were built in 1962, and yes, these are still the original trains. We are riding the same trains as the people visiting the fair over 60 years ago. So, straddle beam monorails are probably the most common type of monorail in the world. In some cases, the lines form important transit corridors, and the tracks come with all sorts of complicated switches and such. Not here though. In fact, the Seattle Center Monorail's operations are almost hilariously simple. Red and blue both have their own tracks. They stay on these tracks, never switching over to the other. They can shuttle back and forth between the two stations independently of each other. All maintenance of the trains takes place at Seattle Center Station. If you look under the platforms, you'll see the spaces where crews can tinker on the trains from below. This makes it one of the few transit systems worldwide where passengers can literally ride every inch of track.
Welcome to Seattle Center Monorail. Please take a seat or hold on to the handrail. Thank you for your cooperation and enjoy the ride.
There's one tiny caveat, however. Despite the two tracks never merging, there is one spot where trains do get in the way of each other. The situation at Westlake Center is not as simple as the rest. The two tracks actually come closer together to form a layout known as gauntlet tracks. The tracks are so close together that if blue was still in the station when red came in, And that's exactly what happened in November of 2005 when the blue train crashed into the red train. Both trains were pretty beat up, and service did not resume until August 2006. One thing that I found interesting is that when the trains were reconstructed following that accident, it was the Seattle Opera that built the doors for the trains. Ordering the doors from the manufacturer in Europe would have taken many more months, but the props team at the Opera was happy to help out. So that was the Seattle Center Monorail. Really, it's like stepping into a double time machine. Not only did we enjoy a ride in a piece of preserved history, but we got to take a look at what people back then thought the future would look like. Maybe I should name this video Back to the Future. I wonder if that title has been taken yet. Anyways, thanks for watching today. Next week, the final episode in our Amtrak Across America series, where we ride the famous Empire Builder from Seattle to Chicago in coach. You don't want to miss this. Subscribe to Trains Are Awesome, and we'll see you next time.